What's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike's here. I have the pleasure of sitting down today with Delilah Napier and Lucy Powers, the co-writers, co-directors, co-editors, and co-stars of the new film Floating Carousel. Delilah, Lucy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Oh, thank you for having
Yes, it's
us.
great to be here.
So let me jump right in. Where did the idea for this film of these almost like a modern day take on a Sex in the City? Where did this idea come from of these 20 somethings in the city?
Yeah.
Well, so much of what we write about together is inevitably inspired by our own lives and things we experience, and we kind of hope that people will and won't relate to the film because so many of the things we've portrayed are like dystopic dating situations that we are personally have experienced, and we find it cathartic and hopefully humorous to be able to turn our lives into art and kind of rewrite the ending of the stories.
Yeah.
Um,
But in short, I like basically what inspired this whole film, I would say, is the central date of the film, which is our character's date with the same man with like 4 days apart from each other. Since that's something that happened to me and Lucy in the fall of 2021, right when the pandemic was breaking. Yeah.
So I don't like to spoil too much on these, but so since you served as co-editors on the film, I feel I have to ask. In the press notes, it said you were collecting stories from all of your friends, like all their worst dating stories and different things. Were there any good storylines that ended up on the cutting room floor that you just couldn't incorporate into this?
Script writing, while we were writing it, definitely. Like we always joke, we need like a floating carousel too to have all the people, all the stories we've gathered since filming. Like there's so many. But editing wise,
in the actual edit,
yeah,
very little took cut. If anything, it was just we had so much fun, for example, with the cabaret, which is within the film,
yeah,
and all of those performances I would have watched for the full 2 hours of footage that we had,
yeah,
but of course we had to cut it down to succinct little montagey styles.
yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then we actually ended up reordering a few things in the edit, but technically all the main storylines made it in.
That was kind of the
Okay.
nice thing about doing it such an episodic film. We were
Mhm.
able to kind of move and shuffle things around, which you might not do have to do with a classical Hollywood narrative
Yeah,
structure. So then we were able to like move something from part two to part three, and yeah.
exactly.
Nice. So as you were filming around, the various locations in New York, what was the work you did with your production team to make sure you found like just the right settings for the cabaret or those apartments or that restaurant? How did you go about mapping that out? Because I'm sure, I mean, shooting in New York City is a project and a half in and of itself.
Really, I would
Yes.
say a lot of that was me and Lucy in the month or two leading up to the film, literally going into places in person and asking. We found the majority of all the locations and like for the West Bank Cafe, and they were actually supposed to close, and
Yeah.
luckily they aren't. But like we kind of basically were just looking up
Mhm.
cabarets in the city, and then that one seemed kind of like a fun quintessential. And the owner, they used to have and even like my parents when they were like in their 20s did like kind of late night shows there, and I think Kathy Curtin did too, who has a part in our film. But basically like it's we knew they were artist friendly, and they let us shoot there. The owner of Kind Regards let us shoot at Kind Regards, and we just paid a staffing fee for them staying open
Mhm.
late hours into the night. But we just shot on the day that the bar was closed. We shot on Mondays and Sundays.
I feel like we know so
Yeah,
many of the nights that bars and restaurants in New York now
yeah,
are closed because we were like, yes, they're closed on Mondays.
yeah.
Like, we can maybe shoot there. And
Like please, please, please for a staffing fee. Yeah, and and also our big sell was like we'll credit you as an associate producer or we'll put you
Right.
as a special thanks in the film, and like praying that was enough to let this person. It's like, don't you want to be a special thanks in our credits?
for indie film, yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we just walked around and found some sympathetic owners as
Yeah,
well who were really
Gospel was
sweet.
amazing for the nightclub scene, and that was like a
Mhm.
real like kind of Deus Ex Machina that we got like literally a week, maybe even less than a week before we were supposed to shoot that, because I remember it was on our off day
Right.
of that week because we had like weekends on what day? I forget.
And
Wednesdays and Thursdays, I think, were our off days. And I
mhm.
remember touring Gospel on like Thursday, and we were supposed to shoot
Yeah.
there that Saturday.
Yeah.
because locations were falling through too.
Yeah.
As
Given our
happens.
system of it being very barter
Handshake
and
deals.
trade,
Yeah.
sometimes during filming it would be like that week, oh, actually, we can't do this now. And it's like, yeah.
Great. Let's walk around.
So your side hustle is event planner. So if people need to know where to go for a date on a Monday night, they can ask you guys, and you'll be able to tell them where they can or can't go because they're closed.
Yeah, no, our production designer joked like, okay, I want you and Lucy as the producers on my feature. And Lucy and I are like,
We
oh.
can again.
So let me ask, and congratulations. So this is the fourth project that the two of you have collaborated on. Talk to me about what it is about, and I know that this is probably something that could take 20 minutes or longer of a conversation, so we'll distill. How did you two meet, come together, and what is it that you like about working with each other on all these projects? Like, what brings you back to be a collaborative team?
We
Totally,
met in
yeah.
college. We were both theater majors at Yale, and we then made a feature film for our senior thesis in theater studies, which wasn't typical.
Yeah.
But we made the film about theater, so it technically counted,
Yeah.
and that bonded us and hazed us together forever. We both have such a similar sense of humor. I think
Yeah.
we appreciate eccentricities and kind of strange, odd
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, because
Um,
we started as just friends, like that did
mhm.
tons of plays together, and we lived together in college. And then like our working relationship together started like late junior year into senior year. And then after that, that kind of just cemented us. And I feel like we always talk about like, I don't know how like I could do this without someone else that cared as much or that was as jointed from the beginning of it. Like, because everyone's like, oh, do you like fight on set about your directorial vision? And it's like, no, because like we read the script together so many times, we created the script together. It's like we were unified in what we want. Like it's only like kind of in the beginning of those things where like maybe artistic differences would come up, but then off by the time you're on set, they're all reconciled.
Mhm.
And then in editing too, like because sometimes with editing it's like the slight it's like wait which take did you prefer, did you prefer this take, did you prefer this take, and the fact that you have someone else like makes it. And we also had another editor on this project for the first time, but
Mhm.
I think like as a director editing alone I would find that really it's hard to have perspective, but when you have another person that you trust, the perspective immediately just kicks in and you feel like you can trust it.
Exactly.
And that sort of answers my next question, but maybe there's a different answer for it because as an educator, I love to have this opportunity when I speak with filmmakers. And my wondering, as you've gone from project to project, speaking to all those up and coming filmmakers or your peers that are out there, what would you say is one of your best practices that you take as you go from project to project?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. Kind of similar to what Delilah was saying. When you're able to write or conceive a piece together with another collaborator, then you know that story so well, and
Mm-hmm.
you already have the voices of the characters in your mind, and so by the time you get behind the camera or in front of it, like you're so united, and just being able, like, first of all, having a collaborator, like find someone that you
Yeah.
can do this crazy business with, and then secondly, just kind of before you get
Yeah.
to the final finish line, like know exactly what you want to make together.
Mm-hmm.
And really quick, we'll wrap this up because this is my last question. What is it that you're hoping people take away from the film after they've spent this 2 hours in your world?
Yes. No, we kind of say because we do think it's a comedy, but it's a dark comedy because we say it's like a dark
Yes, it
comedy
is.
apocalyptic film from the start. And but I think what we're hoping is that in laughing at ourselves, like people will be able to kind of come to understand why we are where we are and what we want to change. Like how should we be changing our approaches to each other and connecting to people and relationships, and we hope that like people feel seen and can relate. And while we're not offering like a solution to like society's problems, we're hoping that it's just kind of a recognition and kind of a realization that we can all kind of like take a break and reset. um yeah.
And laugh at ourselves.
Well, congratulations on the world premiere of the film, which is happening at the Woodstock Film Festival. Be on the lookout for Floating Carousels. Again, Delilah, Lucy, thank you so much for taking the time. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank you. So
you.
nice to meet you.